10 episodes ago, I told you my story starts with working hard and still feeling broke. And I want you to actually picture that version of me for a second. Confused, frustrated, convinced that if I just worked harder, everything would eventually click. Blaming myself for things I was never even taught. Last time I told you I still hadn't asked the bigger question waiting underneath everything. Now that I actually know how to see clearly, what happens next? Here's what happens next. I want to show you who's actually sitting here right now compared to who started this. That version of me, the one who kicked this whole thing off, thought this was going to be a season about learning how money works, interest rates, leaks, numbers, and it was that, some of the time. But somewhere along the way, without me planning it, it turned into something else entirely. I wasn't learning how money works, I was learning how I work. Every single episode, I thought I was fixing my money. I kept asking, how do I fix my money? I never stopped to ask, why did I think every money problem meant something was wrong with me? I want to show you something specific, not just tell you about it in general. Remember the overdraft? $4 short, $35 fee? And I used to think that was just bad luck, or bad timing, or me being careless with money the way I always seem to be. I remember exactly where I was when I saw it. Standing in my kitchen, phone in my hand, watching the notification load. $4. That's it. $4 short, and the bank was about to charge me $35 for the privilege of finding that out. And the first thing I felt wasn't confusion. It was something closer to shame, like I'd been caught. Like the $4 was proof of something I'd always secretly suspected about myself. That I just wasn't careful enough, wasn't responsible enough, wasn't the kind of person who has it together. I didn't even think to ask why a bank would charge someone more money for having less of it. That question never crossed my mind. I just stood there in my kitchen absorbing the verdict, the way you absorb a grade on a test you didn't know you were taking. It took the rest of that episode to even start seeing it differently. The timing wasn't random. The fee wasn't a consequence of my carelessness. It was the product, not the punishment. A system had been built to profit from exactly that moment, and I had walked into it the way most people do, without ever being told it existed. For the first time, I was awake enough to notice, but I still didn't know whether that was the whole story, or just the first crack in something bigger. Remember the raise that disappeared? $500 in, $30 kept, and for months I thought something was wrong with me. Like, maybe I just wasn't built to handle money well, no matter how much of it came my way. I know now that wasn't a flaw in me. That was a trap closing slowly enough that I never felt it happening. The same way it closes on almost everyone. And remember the money that arrived the same week I lost my grandma? I know now that wasn't a test I had to pass alone. That was 5 different things I'd learned. Quietly working together without me even trying, holding me steady in the hardest week I'd had in years. Every one of those moments used to feel like evidence that something was wrong with me. Now, I know they were never that. They were just the places where I hadn't been shown how to look yet. None of it was ever really about money. Money was just where all of it happened to show up. That's when I realized the next money lesson had to go deeper than money. So here's what I want to leave you with. Not a new leak to find. Not another trap to catch. Something simpler, and honestly, something I think matters more than anything else I've told you this season. Before you go, I want you to do one thing. Just one. Think back to the very first money memory you have. The very first one. The way I did with that piggy bank. Actually, let me show you what I mean, because I don't think I've ever told you this part. There's another memory earlier than the piggy bank that I only found once I sat down and actually looked for it. The way I'm asking you to right now. I couldn't have been more than 4 or 5. I remember standing in a checkout line, watching my mom count change from a little coin purse, 1 coin at a time, checking the total twice before she handed it over. I don't remember feeling scared. I just remember it feeling normal. I didn't think about it again for almost 20 years. Not once. It wasn't a big enough moment to remember on purpose. Just a kid in a checkout line. One ordinary afternoon among 1,000 others I don't remember at all. But somewhere in me, it stuck. Not as a memory. As a rule. Because here's what I noticed once I actually went looking. For as long as I can remember, I've counted my change twice before putting my wallet away. Every time. Count once. Count again. Then put it away. I never asked myself why. It just felt responsible. The same way watching my mom do it had felt normal. I thought that was simply who I was. Careful, thorough, good with money even. It wasn't until this season that I let myself ask where that came from. And when I traced it back, it led to that checkout line. My mom wasn't trying to teach me a money lesson that day. She probably doesn't even remember it. But I was standing right there, watching, the way kids watch everything. And I walked away with a rule I never consciously chose. Money has to be checked and checked again, or something will go wrong. That's not a flaw. And it didn't begin with me, if I'm honest. It's an old memory wearing my face. That's the exercise. Not judging what you find, not analyzing it yet, just finding it. You don't need to fix it today. You don't even need an answer right away. You just need to find the moment. Because once you see it, you may start noticing its fingerprints everywhere, the same way I did, in leak after leak, trap after trap, all season long. It was never really hiding. I just hadn't been shown how to look yet. 10 episodes ago, I thought nobody ever taught me how money worked. That was true. But it turns out that wasn't even the real gap. Nobody ever taught me why I felt the way I did about money either. Nobody taught me that the fear was inherited, that the shame wasn't mine to begin with, that some of the confusion was built into the system, that the numbers were never really the point. I used to think money was the problem. I'm not so sure anymore, because if money isn't actually the problem, then what is? I don't know yet, but I know exactly where I'm going to go look. If any of this hit you today, hit that like button and subscribe, because Mo finally knows where to look. And next season, we're going to find out what was underneath the money all along. Before I go, I want to say something I haven't said this whole season. Thank you, genuinely, for staying with me through the leaks, the trap, the confusion, the grief, all of it. When I started sharing these stories, I honestly didn't know if anyone would care enough to listen. I don't take that lightly. I don't know what you've been carrying that brought you here, but I hope something this season made you feel less alone in something you had never said out loud before. And if no one ever taught you this, that's still why this channel exists.